Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're uncovering a seriously cool, developer-friendly hidden gem for troubleshooting APIs, right from your editor. Look, if you're in IT support, software dev, or QA, you already know testing endpoints is a daily, sometimes even an hourly task, right? Well, today, we're checking out a tool that fundamentally changes how you handle all that. It's going to keep you focused, incredibly efficient, and best of all, entirely within your existing workspace. Let's get into it. So here's a question for you. Why on earth open a heavy, separate application like Postman just to test a simple endpoint? I mean, for years, the industry standard has been to rely on these robust, standalone GUI tools. But as our workflows get more and more complex, that constant toggling back and forth between your code editor and an external app, it creates a very real context-switching tax. It's exhausting. Today, we'll see exactly how the REST client extension for Visual Studio Code eliminates that tax entirely. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We've got 5 sections. 1, why leave your editor? 2, setup and first request. 3, environments and variables. 4, auth headers and chaining. And finally, section 5, solving a real-world support ticket. All right, section 1, why leave your editor? The case for a lightweight alternative. You know the drill with those heavy GUI tools. They force you to create syncing accounts, manually export collections just to share them with your team, and constantly pull you away from your actual code. It's a hassle. But the REST client approach, it is a total game changer. Your API requests are literally just plain text files, version controlled right alongside your code. There's zero syncing required, no separate app to launch, and absolutely no context switching. The beauty of it is that your tests evolve exactly as your code base evolves. Moving right along to section 2, setup and first request, from installation to execution. Okay, setting this up is super easy. Just pop open your extensions view in VS Code. You can use Ctrl-Shift-X for that. Search for REST client by Hua Chao Mao and hit install. Next, simply create a new file in your project workspace and give it a .http or .rest extension. Boom, that's the whole setup. You've instantly unlocked syntax highlighting and auto-completion. Now, if you type out a simple GET request to a public API, like JSON placeholder or httpbin.org, watch what happens. A magical little send request link just instantly pops up right above your code. No UI to configure whatsoever. You just click that link or hit your hotkey, and a side-by-side pane immediately opens up. It gives you the raw HTTP response, complete with status codes, response times, and this beautifully formatted JSON payload. It's incredibly satisfying. Now, there is one absolutely crucial gotcha here, especially if you're coming from writing Markdown. You have to aggressively use 3 hashes to separate your multiple requests. If you don't, your backend will throw an error because it'll try to read those dashes as part of the JSON body. See, since you can store dozens of requests in a single file, the parser actually needs a hard boundary to know where one ends and another begins. The extension strictly relies on the 3 hashes. If you use dashes instead, it bundles everything together, and frameworks like Django REST will literally crash. So, stick to the 3 hashes and you're golden. Let's jump into section 3, environments and variables, switching context seamlessly. As your projects mature, you'll definitely need to switch between local, staging, and production environments. By defining those variables right inside your .vscode/settings.json file, you can flip between them with just a single click down in the bottom right corner of your editor. The extension actively looks for a specific rest.environment variables block. In there, you define shared variables or environment-specific ones, like pointing to localhost 3000 for local dev or api.example.com for production. Once you save that, a super handy environment selector just magically appears in your status bar. And check out how elegant this substitution syntax is. Instead of hard-coding your URLs everywhere, you literally just write host wrapped in double curly braces. If you've got local selected in that status bar, it queries localhost. Flip that switch to production, and that exact same line of text hits your live server instantly. It is so clean, and it makes your request files entirely reusable without rewriting a thing. Okay, really quick but absolutely vital security note here. Because your settings file is now holding those environment secrets, you must add that .vscode folder to your .gitignore file. You do not want those tokens leaking into a public repository. Your actual .http files with all the request structures, those are perfectly safe and actually highly recommended to commit so your team can share them. But the passwords, client secrets, and environment variables stay safe and sound in your local ignored settings file. It prevents you from ever accidentally pushing credentials to GitHub. All right, section 4, auth headers and chaining, building complex workflows. We all know the pain of manually copying and pasting expiring tokens, right? Well, with this tool, you can actually dynamically capture an authorization token from a login response and instantly inject it right into your next request. You just execute your post request to log in, save that response to a variable like @token, and then use that variable straight into your authorization bearer header right below it. It is a massive time saver. Seriously, no more double-clicking those massive alphanumeric strings, copying and pasting every single time a token expires. Which brings us to Section 5, solving a support ticket, putting this into a real-world application. Imagine this. The clock is ticking. You've just received a critical ticket. User cannot access data, getting a 401 unauthorized on the production endpoint. A QA tester is completely blocked. Now, in the old days, you'd be scrambling, hunting down standalone apps, digging through exported collections, trying to locate the right production variables, and manually piecing together the user's workflow just to start testing. It's stressful, right? But here's how our support engineer handles it now. They jump right into their existing .http file. They switch the environment to production down in the corner of VS Code, chain the user's token just like we talked about, and fire off the requests directly from the editor to replicate the failure. Because that file lives right next to the code, the exact endpoints and headers are already perfectly documented and ready to roll. The engineer clicks Send Request to fetch the token, then Send Request for the data. The whole replication process takes literally seconds. Then, just by looking at the split pane response window, the engineer can easily read the raw JSON arrow detail. Because it renders right next to your request, diagnosing that 401 is an absolute breeze. They immediately see it's not a bad password at all. The access token is totally valid. It just failed due to an expired scope. Just like that, ticket updated, issue resolved, crisis averted. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. By keeping your API testing lightweight, version controlled, and right inside your codebase, how much context switching time are you going to reclaim today? When you transform your API tests into simple, plain text files that run right where you write your code, you eliminate so much friction and build a living documentation for your entire team. Give the REST client a try today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy testing.